We want to dig deeper now on the growing concerns about people with terrorist ties making their way past the southern border and into the U.S., specifically from the landlocked Central Asian country of Tajikistan. It is the poorest of the former Soviet republics. The CIA says corruption is pervasive, that it is plagued by the opiate trade, as well as destabilized by violence from its neighbor, Afghanistan. It has become a hotbed for recruiting for ISIS. Earlier this month, 8 Tajik men with ties to ISIS were arrested in some of America's biggest cities after crossing the border. We are joined once again by Tracy Walder, now former FBI agent and CIA officer and NewsNation national security contributor. Tracy, thanks for staying with us on this.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
And Tracy, we have a group of men here with ties to ISIS. Does this seem to you like it was coordinated? What is your concern here?
Well, I absolutely do believe that this was coordinated, especially because it was part of basically a 3-city FBI sting operation. And so I think that they tried to enter the border. We know now at different places. Some came in through the San Diego portion of the border, others came in through Texas and Arizona. And I think they tried to get in at around the same time. And once they got here, we're going to settle and then plan attacks.
In Emily Finn's report on this last night, experts were detailed saying that they were concerned about men with ties to ISIS being planted in the U.S. for a future attack. How credible do you think a threat like this is in the near future?
I mean, I hate to be so blunt, but it's absolutely credible because we saw this with September 11th. That's exactly what the 9/11 hijackers did. They made their way into the U.S., some of them not legally, and then stayed here until they were given direction and given orders. And that was months and months.
Tracy, most Americans don't regularly hear about Tajikistan. Why does this country need to be on our radar? And has it truly descended to ISIS? What are you tracking?
So we have to go back actually a little bit to be completely honest. So this is ISIS Khorasan or ISIS-K, and this was a group actually that started for the most part in Afghanistan, but the Taliban recently kicked them out. And so one of the places that they dispersed to was Tajikistan, and this whole area, Dagestan, if anybody remembers the Boston Marathon bombers, they came from Dagestan, which is right near this area as well. And so this actually has been a hotbed for Al-Qaeda, and it has now morphed into a hotbed for ISIS and ISIS-K. They tend to thrive in areas that are not stable, and which is exactly what Tajikistan is.
Yeah, not stable, destabilized by violence, and also no economic opportunity as well for the young men in that country. Tell me what this would hypothetically look like with your background and expertise. If these men were, infiltrating past the border, planting themselves in these large American cities, awaiting instructions, what form would an attack or would those instructions eventually look like? What would you be tracking if you were looking at this case?
So I actually think, and this is based on what FBI Director Wray talked about, he talks a lot about lone wolf attacks, and that's what he is thinking is going to happen. It's going to look different than sort of what we saw with September 11th, which was this kind of large, coordinated, multi-person effort. Really, I believe it would have been lone wolf in nature, particularly because it was spread throughout multiple cities. And so I think they would have gone for soft targets, much like what we saw in Russia, the recent attacks there at that concert hall. I think it would have mimicked something like that with a soft target like a concert hall, a mall, something of that nature.
Tracy, is this indicative of a larger problem at our border? I mean, how easily do you feel individuals with ties to terror are able to cross our border at this moment? And what is even the process for definitively knowing if someone claiming asylum, if they are encountered, has ties to terror organizations?
Well, I think you actually hit the nail on the head right there. That is the issue, and that's what Director Wray has said. A lot of these individuals, we didn't even know that they were a problem, and so there wasn't information that would have put them on a watch list. And that is actually the issue, obviously coupled with some of the issues with the flow of people coming in illegally and being able to stay here. Clearly, that's an issue as well. But intelligence gathering is a bigger problem too, because these individuals are legitimately not on watch lists when they're crossing the border into our country.
Okay, Tracy Walder, incredibly concerning, but thank you so much for your time on this tonight.
Thank you.
Developing right now, at least 15 people are dead after gunmen attacked places of worship in southern Russia. Russia says it's investigating the incidents as terror attacks. Among the dead are several police officers, a priest. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.